Bart and Lisa were kidnapped by the nanny. Homer and Marge were celebrating their wedding anniversary and left the children with a criminal disguised as a nanny. The kids were left at home with no one to help them. Just a few hours ago, Homer braved the heavy rain outside, repeatedly rehearsing his apology speech. At this moment, Marge was nearly furious and the kids were terrified. When she opened the door, Homer confessed his feelings. Marge, who was about to explode with anger, relented. After making up, they decided to enjoy some alone time together. The three kids at home became a problem. Marge suggested hiring a nanny to look after them, but the agency refused to take the Simpsons' order. They had no choice but to lie, claiming their last name was Simpson, and hired a nanny. Bart opened the door and gulped in fear. This nanny clearly didn't look like a good person. Just finding a nanny at all was a win, so Marge didn't suspect anything. She explained the kids' routines, including their rest time, and that when they were bored, they could watch some DVDs. Homer even reminded the nanny to keep a special eye on Bart. The seemingly gentle Ms. Botts nodded in agreement. After Homer and Marge left, the nanny let the kids watch cartoons. Bart asked if he could watch a TV show. The nanny took Maggie upstairs to sleep. Not interested in cartoons, Bart secretly switched on a live TV broadcast. On the screen, there was a criminal nanny who, while the parents were away, had been gagging children and robbing the house of all valuables. The more Bart and Lisa watched, the more panicked they became. That's right, Botts was actually a wanted criminal nanny thief. She had disguised herself as a nanny, infiltrated the house, kidnapped the children, and looted the property. She had committed multiple crimes before. Bart and Lisa ran for their lives. Before leaving, Homer had warned to be careful of Bart. The nanny decided to deal with Bart first. She went to the basement, determined that Bart was hiding inside a closet. Bart had set a trap at the top of the closet, but unfortunately, there was a slight miscalculation, and the trap failed. Lisa, hiding under the table, urgently tried to call the police, but all she heard on the line was an automated voice prompt. The criminal tied Bart and Lisa to the sofa, then cut the phone line and sealed Bart's mouth with duct tape, using the TV's sound to cover the noise of the crime. Maggie was woken up by the sounds of the robbery. Using a rope hanging from the ceiling, she dropped onto a pile of plush toys. When she pushed the door open, she saw the nanny thief stealing. Now, the only hope left in the house was Maggie. Bart and Lisa shouted for Maggie to help, but she simply started watching TV. Half an hour later, the show ended, but Maggie didn't know how to operate the remote. Lisa asked Maggie to help untie her. Maggie passed by the room where the nanny thief was. The nanny saw her and tried to tie up Maggie too. She used the sound to locate Maggie. The three kids teamed up to tie up the nanny and escaped through the window. They made their way to the roadside and used a payphone to call the police again. Homer and Marge rushed back home, only to find the nanny tied up in the living room. Homer apologized while untying her. As the nanny left, Marge followed behind to apologize. Homer, who was helping carry her suitcase, remarked that the nanny's luggage was heavy and probably full of valuable items. To make up for the trouble, Homer gave the nanny 3 times the agreed pay. The nanny then warned Homer not to trust Bart's words. At that moment, the sound of police sirens filled the air. The nanny immediately fled in her car. Multiple police cars had already surrounded the Simpson house. Bart said the nanny was tied up in the living room. Homer grabbed Bart and asked him what mistake he had made. Homer explained that to make up for Bart's actions, he had given the nanny 3 times her fee. Homer began to boast about the intense struggle he'd gone through, but the sly thief was too skilled. Unfortunately, she managed to escape. Watching himself on TV, Homer couldn't stand it any longer. Marge comforted him, saying, "The 3 kids you raised are amazing. If you could defeat the thief, it means you did something right too."